financing and handling. Call 1-800-819-0658.
We now return you to Texas, from Mexican province to independence, brought to you by PBS.
As the United States expanded west during the 1800s, Americans began moving into the Mexican province of Texas. As the Americans continued to settle Texas, this growing population came into conflict with the other established communities in the region. American expansion into Texas created tensions with the Mexican government and residents and sparked controversy in the United States. Over 20 years passed between the first American settlements in Texas and Texas's acceptance into the Union. In 1821, there were 2,240 Tejano residents of Texas when Mexico gained independence from Spain. Tejano is a term used to identify a Texan of Mexican or Latin descent. Their communities were organized around missions, forts, and large ranches. The most distinctive figures on the ranches were vaqueros, who were well-known herdsmen and horsemen. They later taught American cowboys, named buckaroos, their skills. In addition to the Tejano community, Comanche Indians lived in the northern plains of Texas. The Comanches raided Tejano settlements and depended on buffalo herds for their livelihood. The Comanches were renowned horsemen and fearsome warriors. In 1821, the Mexican government gave Moses Austin 18,000 square miles within the territory of Texas, where he created a settlement. Austin died shortly after this land was given to him, and his son, Stephen F. Austin, took over. Austin became the first empresario, which means land agent. Unlike the settlement of other frontiers, the settlement of Texas was completely legal. Previously, Americans took lands still occupied by Indians or lands which other countries claimed. Austin owned his land by creating contracts with the Mexican government, which stated that he and all who settled in Texas would become Mexican citizens and convert to Catholicism. At the time, most Americans were Protestant. Austin hand-picked people whom he allowed to move into his settlement, saying that no drunkard, no gambler, no profane swearer, no idler would be received. 25 similar settlements were created following the Austin settlement. In these settlements, Americans admired Tejano customs, such as fandangos. These were elaborate dances accompanied by guitar and castanets. However, despite Austin's agreement with the Mexican government, the settlers did not learn Spanish, become Mexican citizens, or adopt the Catholic faith. In 1828, the balance between the communities in Texas was shattered when the new Mexican government began to ban slavery, control immigration, and make duties and tariffs on goods. Settlers who moved to Texas after 1830 did not approve of Mexican authorial culture, while pre-1830 settlers had a greater appreciation for Mexican customs. After years of tension, war broke out in 1835. A volunteer American and Tejano army captured Goliad and San Antonio from a small Mexican army. However, the Mexicans retaliated with a counterattack led by Mexican President and General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. In 1836, Santa Anna defeated 187 Texans who refused to surrender the Alamo in San Antonio. He spared a woman and a slave so that they could tell Texans their accounts. Their stories created the American legend of the Alamo. American heroes like Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie defended the Alamo against the Mexican army for 12 days. When Santa Anna eventually defeated the Americans, his troops had suffered 1,550 casualties. 8 Mexican soldiers had died for every single American killed defending the Alamo. Santa Anna then pursued the American and Tejano army, led by Sam Houston. At the San Jacinto River in eastern Texas, Santa Anna believed that he had finally cornered Houston's forces. However, Houston's army attacked and surprised the Mexican opponents on April 21, 1836, as Santa Anna rested his troops. Houston and his men won, shouting, "Remember the Alamo!" On May 14, 1836, Santa Anna signed a treaty establishing the Republic of Texas. However, Mexican Congress refused to recognize Texan independence or sell the territory to U.S. President Andrew Jackson. The new Republic of Texas, between the Rio Grande and the Nueces River, remained disputed territory. The U.S. Congress denied Texas statehood in 1837 when Texas applied for admission to the Union. John Quincy Adams led the opposition of the admission of Texas, saying it would throw off the slave state versus non-slave state balance. However, Andrew Jackson was able to extend diplomatic recognition to the Republic of Texas on March 3, 1837, less than 1 day before leaving office. After Andrew Jackson left office, Martin Van Buren became the new president. He completely ignored the issue of whether or not to annex Texas, so the Democratic Party got rid of him after his first term. After Van Buren, John Tyler became the president who raised the issue of annexation. He represented the Whigs, who came mostly from the North and did not support the annexation of Texas. They did not want Texas to enter the Union because it would throw off the balance of slave and non-slave states. Because of this, Tyler was kicked out of his party. The new Whigs candidate was Henry Clay, who favored annexation, but only if Mexico approved. The new Democratic candidate was James Polk, from Tennessee. His platform called for the reoccupation of Oregon and the re-annexation of Texas at the earliest practicable period. However, before either Polk or Clay could take office, Tyler annexed Texas as one of his last acts as president. In December 1845, Texas became the 20th state and the 15th slave state. Texas had evolved from a Mexican province to an independent republic to a member of the Union. Americans in Texas, at first welcome and legal residents under Mexican rule, became increasingly expansionist and belligerent as more settlers arrived. Unlike other frontiers developing at the time, like Oregon, communities in Texas were never fully inclusive. The issue of annexation caused fierce debate within the United States, but Texas, a cotton-producing slave territory often seen as an extension of the South, was admitted to the Union in 1845.